All right, hello. So I don't think anyone's in here just yet. I'll hang around a little bit until people start coming in. But as you can see, my name is Daniel, and I'm here to go through a few things for the IELTS speaking test with you today. So you have to excuse me a little bit there. My throat has been a bit rough the last few days. So we're going to keep this one nice and short. I'll just keep on hanging around until anyone gets in. Maybe give it until the 2-minute mark, and then I'll get on with it. And I guess we'll just see how it goes. So, yeah, my name is Daniel. I am a native English speaker. So I'm just going to go through a few things that will help you with your fluency and go over a couple of tips that will help you in the IELTS speaking portion of the test. All right, so just another minute then, and I'll crack on. Oh, what time it is this? So should be fine. Let's see. Doesn't look like anyone's in just yet. Give it another 30 seconds, and then I'll go on. So let's stay here in Turkey. The weather outside is sunny, with a light westerly breeze. Okay, is it working? All right, I'll just crack on and start blurting out some tips and tricks and just see if anyone joins and listens. So I'll try that again. The IELTS speaking test is split into 3 different sections. In the first section, you will cover some short questions, basic information about yourself, things like your name, if you have a favorite color, or what type of food you like, if you have any hobbies, things like that. You're expected to answer those questions as fluently as possible. So my big tip whenever it comes to the speaking test is to make sure that you elaborate as much as possible. So don't just give a straight answer. For example, I have a question here, which is, where do you live? So if I was to answer that question, let's say we'll give like a very basic answer, maybe like a quite low down on the scale there, quite a low band in terms of your grading. So where do you live? If I was to answer it, I would say I live in Turkey, which it does technically answer the question, but it's not seen as a good answer. So if I was to give a slightly better answer than that, I would say I live in a place close to Fethiye in Turkey. So again, a little bit more information, a bit of a higher grade. Then to take the next step up, you would go, I live in a town called Göcek, which is close to the city of Fethiye in Turkey. So now we're getting into the higher level of answer. These answers will get you a decent score, but still not the best score. So if you were looking to get the best score possible, you would go for something like this. So where do I live? I live in a small town called Göcek, which is half an hour away from the city of Fethiye on the Mediterranean coast of Turkey. It is a beautiful town. We live near the sea, and we get to go and visit the beach every day. I enjoy the sunshine and the mountains that surround us. So when you're giving your top level answer, you want to give as many little details as possible. Try and express yourself in your answer a little bit. So, excuse me there. You don't just want to answer the question, you want to answer the question and then give your opinion. Follow it up with your opinion, use that to expand your answer. The number one thing here is it's better to speak too much than it is to speak too little. If you speak too little and the examiner has to ask you for more, that's going to mean that you'll end up scoring lower. But if you answer and give too much, you keep on talking, and the examiner has to tell you to stop so you can move on to the next question, then you've done really well. It means that you've proven that you can talk in English comfortably. So when it comes to these answers, always think of it being more is better. So there are a few other short questions as you go through the first part, often on a similar topic. So in the case of these example questions here, we're looking at your favorite color. So it'd be, what's your favorite color? Do most of the things you own consist of this color? Do you prefer light or dark shades? What is your least favorite color? And do you think color has an effect on the mind? So all of these questions will be given to you one at a time. On this particular mock test, there are 9 questions in the first part, and you will answer each one as you are given them. So you don't have to answer them all at the same time, just one at a time. The examiner will give you a question, you answer that question as best you can, and then you move on to the next one. So again, I'll give you another quick example of how you'd answer one of these questions. So I'll just go with, what is your favorite color? A low-level answer would be, my favorite color is blue. Maybe a slightly better answer would be, my favorite color is light blue. And if you want to start getting a bit more in depth, getting those higher scores, you would say, my favorite color is aqua blue because it reminds me of the sea and I enjoy the sea. Or you could say, I enjoy aqua blue because it is a light color. It suits me when I wear it, and it makes me feel calm when I look at that light color. So those sort of answers where you give more information, give your opinion. Oh, hello. I can see we got someone in here. So I'm just going through the first stage of the IELTS speaking test here. I was going to say, it's good to see you in here. So if you'd like, have you got any questions on the top of your, like, off the top of your head? Have you got any questions that you'd like to ask me before I continue? Just feel free at any point. This isn't going to be a super long stream, so just feel free at any point to drop a question there in the comment section and I'll answer that for you. But I was just covering here part 1 of the IELTS speaking test, and I'll quickly reiterate those points again for you. So I'm going over how in part 1 you'll be given a set of questions. These questions are fairly short and they are questions that will relate directly to you. So the opening questions will be, what is your full name and where do you live? And I'm just going over how when you want to answer these questions, you want to try and answer them with as much elaboration as possible. You want to give the longest answer. So the one I was just going over here was question 5 from the section on this mock test that I'm looking at, which is, what is your favorite color? So if you want to look at a low-level answer, you would just say, my favorite color is blue. So you do answer the question with that, but it's not seen as a great answer. So it won't be a question that, sorry, it won't be an answer that will get you a higher band on this test. If you want to go for something a little bit better than that, you would say, I don't know, I like light blue because it reminds me of the color of the sea. So you give a little bit more information and you're showing that you are comfortable speaking English, and that will be what gets you higher grades. So that one will be a decent grade. But if you want a top band, you would have to say something like, my favorite color is aqua blue because it reminds me of the sea and I enjoy going to the beach. It also makes me feel calm because it is a light and soothing color. So there, I put a lot of information in the answer. I expanded on my opinion, and I guess, gave the examiner a little bit more of an insight into how I feel about that color. And by doing that, I've proved that I am capable of using a wider vocabulary of words to describe how I feel. And I can also stitch sentences together to form a longer speech, which again shows a greater command over the English language. So the rule I always look for when you're answering the questions in these speaking tests is you never want to be too short. You always want to be as long as you can get. So if the examiner is telling you that they need more information, that your answer is too short, then that is no good. You don't want that. It'll not reflect very well on you. But if you talk a lot and the examiner has to tell you to stop talking, then that means you've done a really good job. That means that you've expressed yourself well. It means that you've proven to the examiner that you can speak the language fluently. So you want to always aim to give it as long of an answer as possible. So, like I say, part one's done through a series of short questions. Moving on to part two, you will be given a cue card. And this cue card will have a specific topic, which the examiner will tell you. So in the case of this test that I have here, the subject of this cue card is, what is your favorite subject to study? And it comes with 4 questions that you have to answer. With the cue card, you're actually allowed to write things down. So you'll be given a pen and paper, and you will be given the cue card, and you will be allowed to make notes for 1 minute. I recommend that you use this time wisely and you make as many notes as possible, but do it as bullet points. Because if you were to write a large paragraph, then when you are trying to speak and read all these words at the same time, then it might get your brain a bit muddled up, which will make it harder for you to talk in full sentences, and you may lose your concentration. So my recommendation would be to make as many bullet points as you need, but just short sentences, like little reminders, so that as you are speaking to the examiner, you can quickly look at your notes. You sit there with your notes, you quickly look at your notes. It will remind you where you want to go with the conversation, and then you can carry on talking without having to stop, without having to think, and without having to read too much. And what you want to aim to do is, so I'll give you the example here, with it being on the topic of your favorite subject, there are the 4 questions. What is your favorite subject? Why is it your favorite subject? What do you learn from it? And do you want to continue working on it, or do you want to change subjects? So these are 4 short questions, but on this section, you want to answer them all at the same time. So you don't want to say, what is it? My favorite subject is maths. It is my favorite subject because I like working with numbers. You don't want to answer it like that, because you're answering as separate individual questions, and that doesn't look as good to the examiner. What you want to do is say, my favorite subject is mathematics, especially especially statistics, because I like to work with numbers and enjoy working out complex problems. I want to go into engineering, so this subject suits me really well. So when you say that and you've answered multiple parts of the question in one sentence, one complex sentence, it proves that you were able to let a conversation flow and that you are able to, once again, stitch shorter sentences together to form a longer narrative. And it comes across as more conversational. And at the end of the day, what they're looking to do is see if you can confidently speak English fluently as part of a conversation. So for part 2, number 1 tip is write notes. Make sure those notes are easy to read. So no long sentences, just write them as bullet points. And then answer the question like it's just one question. All 4 parts of the question you want to answer in one go and just let it flow. Again, this is a fairly comfortable part of the test because you get to write those notes and you get a little bit of time to think about it so you can plan what you're going to say better. So it's actually a really it's a nice little break in the test before you come on to section 3, because section 3 has the most complex questions. So in section 3, they will ask you a set of longer questions, and each one will be on a bit of an abstract subject. So it won't necessarily be something totally personal to you. It will be asking your opinion on a more complex topic. So in this case, the first question of part 3 is, do you think English is a must-learn language as it is considered an international language? So as you can see, that's a little bit more of a complex question than the previous sections of the test. And what they're looking for here is for you to be able to articulate your opinion in a very clear, very concise manner. And once again, they're looking for long answers. So you want to aim to talk enough that the examiner has to tell you to stop. If the examiner has to tell you to stop, then that means you've made a really good effort. It means that you've spoken enough that you'll have convinced the examiner that you are confident with your English. So technically, this is like a yes or no question. All right, you could answer this in one word. Do you think English is a must-learn language as it is considered a national language? You could just say, yes, it is a must-learn language, which technically it does answer the question, but that's not a good answer. Because again, what they're looking for is for you to expand on that. So you would start with, yes, I think English is a must-learn language, but then you'd give your opinion on why you think it's a must-learn language. So you'd say, as it is the most widely spoken language in the world, I believe that English will open up more opportunities than any other language. I also believe that it'll allow you to communicate with the most amount of people and meet people from all around the world. So in that answer, I've covered a lot more ground. I've given my opinion. I've explained why I have that opinion, and then continue to elaborate and give little tidbits of information, forming almost a list, which gives the examiner plenty to work with in terms of they can hear you demonstrating this mastery of English. And the same goes for all these questions. So the next one after that is, when children first learn a subject, what do they enjoy most? So again, this is a question based on your opinion, and they're not really looking for the right or wrong opinion. Whatever your opinion is, it's okay. It doesn't matter. You can actually make it up. You might not have an opinion on it, so just make an opinion up and just make sure you keep talking. Because I mean, personally, I don't have an opinion on this, but if I was to answer it, I would say something along the lines of, when kids first learn a subject, I think that they enjoy arts and crafts the most. I think they enjoy making a mess and like making things colorful and look pretty, and it allows them to use their imagination and creative freedom. And in that question, see, as the other important tip for part 3 is you want to paraphrase the question. So you want to include the question in part of, like, in your answer. So in this case, I'd said, so it says, when kids first learn subject. So I included that in my answer. I said, when they first learn a subject, I think, and then I continue to elaborate with my opinion. So you always want, on the third section, you always want to look at the question, make sure you listen to the question, and include the question in your answer. And overall, just try and make sure that throughout the test, you stay calm. You don't want to speak too quickly. You also don't want to speak too slowly. If you take too many breaks in your speech, that will lower your score. If you speak too quickly, you will confuse yourself and you may end up losing track of what you were saying, which will also result in lowering your score. So if you feel like you're getting confused, don't worry. You want to just take a breath in through the nose, out through the mouth. It will relax you. It gives you a second to think, and then you can continue your answer. And try and make sure that before you go into your test, you have a very wide vocabulary. So I would recommend going online and looking for an English thesaurus, because that will allow you to find new meanings, or rather new words that have the same meaning. So you can spice up your speech a little bit more. You can spice up your vocabulary. It makes you sound like you have a much wider knowledge of the English language, and it will bring your score up. So I'm looking at the time here. I've actually went over a little bit. So does anyone have any questions they want to ask in the comments? Feel free to put any questions there before we go. This was quite a short stream, but just quickly, if you've got anything, then put them there. I'll just wait around a minute more just to see if there's anything you want to ask. And if not, I will end it here. I do thank you all for sticking around and watching it. I hope you've learned something in this little snippet of information, and I hope you enjoy learning English, and hopefully you'll ace that test when it comes around. But yeah, there's no questions there. I think I'll clog out here. So I hope you all have a wonderful afternoon and a lovely night. Thank you for listening.